And at the moment, I think there's only one person in, which is cool. Why we always yelling or David? I don't know which one is in at the time, but if you're in, give a thumbs up. Let us know that our vocals are good and we're coming through, and you see our pretty little faces. But I am here with Shoreline Aquatics for those of you who are watching the replay. Uh, and I talked to him earlier, a couple days ago, and I told him that I am terrible at names. I remembered nicknames. Tim or Tom? Which one was it?
Thomas from Shoreline Aquatics.
Thomas. Like I said, dude. So I used to hang on. I used to run around in the streets. I played football, and I was in the military. So my whole life is nicknames. You know, I could never remember people's real name. So Thomas from Shoreline Aquatics. I've been watching Thomas. I think I subscribed to him about 2 months ago. When I needed to learn something about medications because I suck on it, and Thomas had a very in-depth quarantine medication video that I found. A fish nerd, what's up, my brother? How you doing? I loved your live stream. I think you're gonna like this video. I had this live stream with Thomas from Shoreline Aquatics. But Thomas from Shoreline, he had a very, very good video about medications. I'm be honest with you, a little bit above my pay grade, but it's one of the things you have to watch about 2 or 3 times to be like, okay, I get it. But if you have to watch it 2 or 3 times, that means it's good. So, Thomas, introduce yourself. Let us know what you're about.
It's all Sounds good, everybody. My name is Thomas. Shoreline Aquatics. It's a very small business where I specialize in the reproduction of Pterophyllum Altum angelfishes. It all started in 2017 when I was just pretty much slinging guppies and plecos and stuff on eBay. And I got my first Altum angelfish in 2017. And in 2019, I was able to reproduce those fish. And that's when I became strictly an Altum business, was in 2019. So in 2019, I was able to take these fish that were imported from Germany, and I was able to create over 1,000 Altum angelfish that year. And they went all over America, wholesale. I sold, shipping fish to individual customers. And also there was a lot of fish that went to Canada as well. I had customers driving over the border. So a lot of the fish and all the domestic Orinoco lines that in the United States now are progeny from those original fish that I started out with.
All right, all right. Let me give some hellos to a couple of people in here. Christopher, what's up? How you doing? Jersey, what's up? How you doing, Jersey? I recently came from Jersey right before I came to Florida. Daniel, how you doing? Everybody, we are talking with Thomas from Shoreline Aquatics, a Altum angel, Pterophyllum, scalare enthusiast, breeder, and seller. So
absolutely.
And a lot of you guys, Jersey, my dog, name it. My dog's name is Jersey. Your dog's name is Jersey. Okay. All right. Well, and then, hey, as far as this chat's concerned, you put Jersey up there, so I got to call you Jersey. I mean, I have no choice. You know, you are now Jersey. So you and your dog got something in common now. You put it, brother or sister. I don't know who you are, but you put it there. That's what we got. That's what we're rolling with. So for some of you guys who followed me since my beginning know that my original channel name was about this long. I love my dog. Well, I love one of my dogs. The other one, we ain't gonna talk about the other one. Top 5 Corys. I'll get into that in one moment. We're talking about Altums right now, but we will talk about Corys if we're talking about Altums later on. Talk about Altum tank mates. How about that? My original name, the channel name was AQUA FUNK Aquatics. That was the channel with Jay. That's me, the angel freak. So I started my channel on angelfish. That was what I started. My very first video was on my veil-tailed, they called them California green angelfish. But that was the word salad that people use for angelfish, where they just vomit words at angelfish and give them more. What they were green smoke angelfish is what they were.
Mm-hmm.
But when they first came out, they had all different names. They were California green. So that was my very first video. So talking to Thomas right now is really, really cool for me, because angelfish kind of fell out of favor as far as YouTube is concerned. Used to be all the rage. YouTube goes in cycles. I'm happy that he's here. There's another guy doing angel Altums. So I'm happy that these two channels are here. Hopefully we get Altums back in people's minds and out their mouths. So at the moment we don't have any moderators in the chat, but we do. Shoreline Aquatics is his channel. In the description, please go to his channel. I have his link in his description. Go check him out. He has a website. You can also purchase Altum angels from him there. Thomas, so you mentioned you started in 2017 guppies.
Yes. My business in 2007. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. You started breeding guppies, which is, let's be honest, just add water. Then you went and you jumped all the way to Altum angels. That's a pretty big leap.
I didn't want to get Altum angelfish. And I really loved regular, domestic, scalare angelfish as well. And I used to have a Manicoopru line that I used to breed and sell to at the beginning, which most of those fish, they're probably not true Manicooperus. You know, they'll just breed fish for the red top, and that's what they're called. They become that trade name.
Red tops, for those of you who don't know, they're the ones with the red backs. Red backs, sometimes people call them.
Yeah,
I call them
Manicooperus,
because I can't say it, but yeah.
So anyway, what happened is I really wanted to get these Santa Isabel scalare angelfish. They're up the Alto Negro, and there was a business in Florida in late 2016 that did a Germany import. So this business was called Angelfish USA. It's owned by David LaBelle, and he imported, I think, 1,000 angelfish from Germany into the USA. So he had Simon Forkel Santa Isabels, Simon Forkel Altum out of Bapos, and he also had, I think he had what mine were sold as were called Seagrass Line domestic Orinoco Altums. I really, really wanted those Santa Isabel Altums. That's what I wanted to move up to. I didn't want to get Altums, but when I called and I tried to order the fish, and David, he's a good salesman, you know, he's like, Thomas, you should get these Altums. And I was like, I don't know, man. That's the high level stuff. I don't know if I can handle that. It's easy, man. He's like, you just give food, change the water. He's like, these are easy to care for.
Now, were they wild caught?
No,
they were from Germany.
They're from Germany. Yep. They were advertised as Seagrass Line Altums, which is probably a very domesticated strain.
Yeah. So before we go further, let me kind of add to that. For those of you who don't know, if you're an angelfish lover, there's two places you want to go, and that is Brazil and Germany. I don't know what them Germans do on their spare time, but they killing it when it comes to angelfish. Them Germans throw down when it comes to angelfish. They the ones that developed one of my favorite, which is the Bulgarian seal point. That's one of my favorites. Actually, they developed a lot of the favorites that I have. But yeah, them Germans, they don't play when it comes to angelfish. So it's just funny that you have to get the fancy angelfish from Germany when we are landlocked with where they come from. But
you know, you know why that's so important? Because once these Altum angelfish, they're bred in captivity, they're not nearly, they become more like regular aquarium fish. They're not difficult to care for anymore, because everybody knows that wild Altum angelfish have that reputation. Some of them, they just crash, they melt away, they die. Some of them, they either might die sudden or they might slowly wither away. But when you buy the tank bred fish, they don't have any of those issues. So when those tank bred came from Germany into America, They were even back in 2017, in early 2017, they were like, 75, $80 each. They weren't cheap, and people were buying them because all of a sudden those are more like regular angelfish, where if you get them, you give them clean food, you change the water every week. That's all you need to do to take care of them. They don't require any specialized care. So that was the value in those German produced fish, that you can get fish. And now, even though, like I said, I wouldn't consider myself a beginning hobbyist at that time. I was probably an intermediate. I've taken care of fish all my life, but nothing difficult. An intermediate hobbyist, and I can take those fish, and they were the easiest fish I've ever cared for in my life. They did great. And I pretty much I religiously changed the water every week, 70% down, put water back. And they grew into these big, 12, 14-inch high fish within a couple years. So
now I had got me a trio of Altums. Now the thing was, what's up, Gaby? How you doing? If any of you guys have any questions for Thomas, just put it in the chat. I'll read it and I'll see what's up. Gaby, can you do me a favor and grab Shoreline Aquatics link and put it up there, if you don't mind, for everybody to see, and hopefully, subscribe, because I feel like he has a lot of. So my channel, for those of you who just meeting me, how you doing? I'm all about common sense and practical. So when I came across him, I was really kind of like, yo, this is somebody I can deal with, because I don't feel like he's a gatekeeping. He's not saying, no, you can't do this. You have to be special. You have to know as much as me. You have to be experienced. He wasn't saying none of that, because those people I can't stand.
yeah,
Because it's your basics, your your nitrogen cycle. You got a little bit of time under your, little bit of time. It don't take a whole lot, and you have the willingness to learn. You know what I'm saying? And try different things. I feel like anybody could do anything. Is what I'm getting at. If you really want to, it's anybody can do anything. So I really kind of gravitated to his channel, because he was basically saying the same thing I was, like, don't be afraid of it. That's what I was getting at. So yeah,
we can do
I'm
it,
really
man.
about it. Yeah. So okay. So let's talk about this whole thing, because your whole thing with 2025.
Okay.
Captive bred angels. Your ideal beginner setup. Captive bred F1. We're talking about F1s here, okay?
Sure.
This is one step down from wild caught. Okay, F1, one step down from wild caught. Parents were wild caught. F1, first time Altum owners. Basic setup.
Basic setup is understanding that these are group social animals. So they feel more comfortable. They feed off of each other's behavior. And sometimes the way we'll read them, and to evaluate their health, is how they move as a group. And now we're not only talking about a group of fish. So I believe 7 or more, like 7 to 12 fish is a pretty magical group. These are big fish, so we could expect the fins to be on these fish is about, stretching 12 inches high. Let's say talking about the round part of their body without the fins in a couple of years is going to be 4.5 to 5 inches. So what we're looking at is a decent sized discus fish. So now we need that big group of them, and they need the space. So we're going to need a large tank for those fish. I believe the standard 125-gallon tank that you can get at Petco, you can put 10 or 12 of these Altum angelfish, and you will be fine with that.
10 or 12 in a 125.
Yes.
Honestly, I was thinking that most people would say 6 or 8 in a 125. But most people, in all, and I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that, because let's be real. Everybody wants, but realistically, people will sneak extra ones in there, but won't tell nobody. But most people is like, oh no, you gotta have 125 gallon for one fit. They kind of a little extra. I'm glad you say 10 or 12 for 125 for a fish that's gonna get this big. I think that's an awesome looking tank. But I think a lot of people would be like, oh, that's too many. Like there's a lot of people on YouTube, like in the chat, that would probably be like, I know on
Yeah.
Facebook, that definitely would be.
Well,
Facebook.
here I'm going to smash pretty much all those myths of what people are talking
Yes.
about. Even when we're going to look at this tank behind me, I tell you, I got a tank behind me here that, there's 40 Altums in there. There's 10 Panda URs in there. There's 7 Earth Eaters in there. It's a big tank. It's 350 gallons, right? But I can keep that going because I know how to maintain that tank, So when you're talking about that amount of Altums, 10 or 12 fish in a 125, I'm talking about changing that water down to, once the fish are adult, I change to 7 inches off the floor.
Adult,
every week.
You said?
Every
you said
week.
adult?
The
Now,
adult.
see, that's awesome that you say that, because people also, oh no, it's too much water change and da 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 da.
No. These fish come from a dynamic riverine environment. Their water's changing around them every second. There's different micro habitats in the same tributary where they can swim, and the TDS and pH be completely different within moments. Temperatures can drop, the rain can come, and it can go from 85 to 74, 72 within seconds, So these fish, they are evolved to handle these high dynamic fluctuations. Now, this is when we're talking about healthy fish here, right? If you got a sick ultimate, or let's just say I got ultimates and they just came in and I started jerking their water around and fluctuating the temperature, that's gonna, because they're already weak at that moment, that's gonna hurt them real bad. So when I'm talking about that these fish can handle the changes, that's when these fish, number one, if you have them, like say you got my fish, you got them healthy, and after they're in your tank for a few days, every week, bam, bam, bam. It doesn't matter. Every day, bam, bam, bam. It doesn't matter at all.
So Christopher Jenkins says he gets accused of doing too many water changes at one time. I'm a big fan of water changes. I don't like, now there's a all right, so like it's no secret I'm a friend of Father Fish's. He's a good friend of mine. Just because we're friends, that don't mean we have to agree on everything.
What thing we need to understand here is we're talking about Altum angelfish, right?
Yeah.
So when you guys are talking about a dirt tank, or we're talking about gouramis or tetras or guppies or whatever, it's not even the same thing at all. I'm talking about Altum angelfish. So when you're talking about, you do too many water changes, did you do too many water changes on your Altum angelfish? Or are we talking about other fish? So we're also saying there is something to the right amount of maintenance. Over care. That's a whole discussion. I can probably make a whole video about over care. Once you become an
I don't think there's been a video on too much water changes. Well,
you remember the Bugs Bunny? I know we're from the same generation, we're the same age. Remember when the monster grabs and he's all, oh, I'm gonna rub him, pet him, and squeeze him, and call him George. Sometimes we're like kids, and we think that if we change the water more, or if we're caring for our fish more, we're gonna feed our fish more. We're actually killing our fish by doing that. Too many water changes, even let's just say on my Altums, let's say I had an ideal stocking rate in my tank. Let's just say I had 12 dozen Altums and a 180 or something like that. I change that water every week. Now, is it going to make better if I change it twice a week? No. At that point, we might actually will be hurting our fish, right? Because there is a certain level of exposure that comes from some of the nutrient buildup that our fish deal with, their immune system is dealing with it. As soon as we take that away and we make it so pure and so clean, we're creating
Too sterile. It's too sterile.
yeah, we're living in a bubble. And then after that, your fish, when it goes somewhere else and it experiences a little bit of pollution, boom, it's dead because it had no immune system, you know?
Yeah, it's too weak. Yeah. So I have that so do you use RO water?
I use RO water for some of my wilds, and I use RO water when I spawn and for fry. Right now, if you didn't know, up in Western Washington here, my water out of the faucet comes out at 40 TDS. So my my tap water is probably cleaner than some people's RO water.
Yeah.
So
my point is I kind of have a problem with people using RO water past, let's say with angels, past pea size. Like once they have their diamond shaped, I feel like they should start transitioning them towards like 50-50 and start getting them to where they're going to normally be in real life at the customers' homes. Because like you said, they sterilize this water to get them to grow so much faster, clean water, so much food, water, and then they go into somebody's house and they just can't handle normal water and they're weak. So I do believe there needs to be some trial by fire that needs to go on with fish in general. So I get what you're saying,
Yeah. For here, people will ask me too. They say, "Well, where are you keeping your F1s at?" And I'll say pH 7.2, TDS 40 to 50. Yeah. And then they'll be like, "Oh, I don't have water like that, so I can't keep them." And I'm like, "Well, I want to ask, where are you guys hearing this from? Because I didn't tell you that, and I'm trying to let you guys know how to enjoy and care for these fishes. But the problem is people will go online and they'll find all this information and it will all say the same things. They need to be kept in super soft, acidic water. You need to have powerful filtration. It needs to be a super cycled aquarium. And it's this thing. And if you ever seen now they got AI will reach out and compile those all for you with all those myths into one place,
Yeah. I tested AI. AI has if you ask AI how to breed angelfish, it'll tell you how to breed angelfish almost identically on how to breed tiger barbs. Because it doesn't know how to distinguish the difference. So Christopher Jenkins says, my tap water is very similar, I guess, to yours. It comes out at 6.3. Really? 6.3. And very soft. Angels and pistos love it. Shrimp and snails, not so much. Yeah.
Wow.
GNC Aquatics says online will have a million different opinions from whatever they. I have a problem. I just did a members only video about the words people say. Do your research. I rant on my members only. I rant on my members only because nobody wants to hear me rant. They want me to be happy on my videos, so I use my members only to unload, But so, all right.
Let me take over this here.
Yeah, please.
Not all. We don't have to be slaves to the water that comes out of our faucet. And we don't need a reverse osmosis system to make water acidic. And we could make water that came out at low TDS. We can add TDS to that water very, very easily. So we don't have to be a slave to any of these things. Let's just say water was coming out at 200 TDS and pH, say 7.5. Now we can take a buffer, whether, we can buy chemicals that we design for our swimming pools and stuff, or you can buy, if you don't trust that, you can buy, C-Chem Asket Bumper, Fritz pH down. There's all these products, right? We can measure a can of water. We can add this stuff in there. And we could bring that pH down to 6.5 or 6 or whatever you want. And if you check the TDS after that water, you're going to find out that it lost TDS. Well, how is that possible? We just added something and now it weighs less. Because what happens is that acid reacts to that carbonate and it changes that carbonate hardness into general hardness, which is pretty much just salts. But in that reaction, just like when you put vinegar and baking soda together, what happens? It makes gas, right? That gas, there's a lot of CO2 that just leaves your water, and that's where it went. So we could actually soften our water by buffering our water. And is that the way it happens in nature? No, it's not. The way we adjust pH naturally is if we lower the TDS down and then natural acids build up in the water and stuff from decomposing, depending that as long as we don't have carbonate and rocks and minerals leaching in our tank. And what's going to happen is the amount of salts after the carbonate is destroyed, the amount of salts that are left over is kind of holding up a floor of pH. What's it going to drift down to? So let's just say if I said, okay, let's put 15 TDS water, throw a couple catappa leaves in there, and then watch it. What's going to happen? Oh, it's going to go down to like maybe 5.6, 5.7. That's the way this happens in nature. Now, when we're talking about happening in a fish tank, we could just say, okay, let's just throw some chemicals into the water. Let's buffer it down. Let's just say your pH was 8.5 or something ridiculous. I would recommend, oh, you want to keep Altums? Will they live in that? Will the F1s? Yeah, they would. You know, you change the water a lot, but it's not ideal for them. You're asking a fish to adapt to a different water than it's designed to. Will it survive it? It might, but it might be a weaker fish that can succumb to more different problems in your tank. So we could just take that water. We could calculate how much it takes to buffer that water down. It doesn't have to be extreme. You don't have to buffer down, 6, 5, 4. Just get it down below neutral. And this is a comfortable water for all those South American fishes. You can survive in that. You can just plop them into it. It's not going to bother them at all. And it's free pretty much. You don't have to get the reverse osmosis unit. So even like when you look at this tank behind me right here, and I have all the craziest fish. I got the Cetanopercadamons, I got the Pandiuarus, I got all these really crazy fish that people say, oh, these are just the hardest fish to care for. They need powerful filtration. They need super, super pure water and all these things. They need the right diet. And the reason why they do so well is because the water is tap water. And I just will buffer it down a little bit until the fish feel right. What is right for that tank? That right is what is the lowest amount that you can go for what residents you have in there. Right now, I have a ancestors placos in there. I tell you, man, those they pickle. You might as well make pleco soup if you bring that pH. If it starts getting close to 5.0 or something, they're just going to kick the bucket. So I'll bring it down as far as that the residents are good. So I chose, okay, I think it's safe for my pleco. I'm going to roll 5.3,
Okay. So you mentioned chemicals. A lot of people don't like using chemicals. They want to do the driftwoods and tannins and botanicals and stuff like that. You don't have botanicals. So
I have botanicals.
you
There's
do?
a natural way.
Okay.
And there's an unnatural way, right?
All right. This is new to me. So let me know.
The natural way is better for breeding fish.
Yeah.
Right? If I just Frankenstein a whole bunch of my chemicals in water and jerk these eggs out of this fish, that's when you either have eggs that people say they weren't fertilized. No, they all died.
Yeah.
That's what happened. They all died.
Yeah.
Or you got fish that, half of them were missing an eyeball and they didn't have tails. And they have, they look like, chicken dino nuggets or something, instead of angelfish.
Oh yeah, we're
And
gonna get
this
into
is
that.
what's going to happen.
We're gonna get
This
into
is
that.
what's going to happen when you Frankenstein your water together. You're going to Frankenstein your fry. If you're lucky enough to even see them, you're probably not going to see them at all. So the natural way is even like when I started, when you look, and I know you have videos of my Altums, my first Altums, because when you did an Altum video, you took some video from my YouTube, which not a big deal. I like people to use my stuff. When you see a tank, that's 240 gallons large and only has like maybe 4 or 5 fish in there.
Yeah.
This is when the natural way can be effective because the natural way requires that water settling, where you have a big filter and there's very, very low TDS, and the pH will start ticking down, and it will kind of find a point that's supported by how much GH is in there. And that is the way that the Altums breed, that you're going to get the best hatch rate and everything like that. But you can't put a lot of Altums in that tank. That tank, with that method, if you put 12 or 15 Altums or 20 Altums in a 200-gallon tank, you think it's a big tank. But now you have to change the water more, right? And you're changing the water with that reverse osmosis. It's very, very expensive to create. You're throwing away most of the water. And every time you change it, it creates this dynamic swing, and it will creep down. But if you actually did it over and over and over again so fast, what's going to happen is it takes a few days for that water, for the acidity to lower in the natural way. So if you're overstocked and you change the water a lot, and then your pH average is probably going to be higher than where the fish will feel comfortable sitting at.
Okay.
So if we just want to have a nice, beautiful tank of stocked Altums like this one back here, that's just totally insane, it's like, then I will just use buffered water and change it often as I want, as I need to, which is, I like to stock tanks that have weekly service. Is this tank behind me have weekly service? No, it doesn't. Right now, it's because it's new as well. When it's new, I kind of watch the fish. It's a 350-gallon tank running on sponges. Yeah, it doesn't have powerful filtration.
Yeah.
And I'm using that now. But will I wait longer and do it a week? Yeah, maybe. It all depends on what the fish, how they're behaving. When I told you, remember we were talking about Altums need to stay in a group, right?
Yeah.
Altums, wild Altums, you see it a lot where they'll jump. Like all the fish will jump together. Sometimes they'll panic and start slapping. They just totally lose their poop, man. Just go everywhere, right?
So just to let you know, on this channel, if it's natural cuss words, cool. We don't just drop F-bombs just to drop F-bombs. But if it's, hey, if they lose their shit, then cool. But
all right, man. I didn't want to do that on your channel, man. We can lose our doo-doo too. It's all good. So
if it's a normal phrase, yeah, but we don't like try and find ways to, like take tallies on how many cuss words we could say.
Got you. You know what? I try not to use it, because I want everyone to be able to see this and enjoy this.
Yeah.
But definitely you got to understand, I was an Alaska fisherman for 20 years. Once we let that dam go,
you
don't want to go there with me. I tell you that, man.
I was Army infantry.
Not going to be derated.
Yeah. Well, after you start doing this for a while, you learn how to. Cause see, like I know I have teenagers, young teenagers, come to my live streams, so I'm very aware of that. Granted, I do have, this is not for underage people, that don't stop them, so I'm aware of that. But at the same time, if it's natural that it comes out, they lose their shit. If you can hear it on TV, I'm all right with it. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Mr. AQUA FUNK, for that courtesy to allow the free flowing of speech and language.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Let me get back. We're back where we were talking about before. We were talking about important to have the group, right? Because the group, you can see how the Altums are feeling. When they're all looking away and they're kind of turned like this, and their tail is closed like this, that means they don't feel good. We feel like crap. Maybe the fish are just kind of hanging out together, but all of a sudden they'll go boom, and you'll see them jerk, and they'll be like, okay, I'll see it once, right? Boom, I see it again. That will lead me to know something's wrong. This is going to start the investigation. I have a new tank, and it's very, very overstocked, and I haven't did a water change in 5 days. It could be very well the buildup of pollutants in the water that's making them irritated like that. Because when one of them jumps, it sends a trigger through the whole group. Like, boom. So when you got, now, let's just say it happened in a tank that I know is not overstocked, and it's very, very, say a fish that I've had for years in that tank, that I've been doing that same weekly service. I'm very meticulous. See him jump. See them once, twice, threes. I'll immediately get up my sofa. First I do, check the temperature. Oh crap, it's 71 degrees in there. I forgot to plug in the heater after the water change.
Your
This
cell
is
phone.
this is a good scenario, right? Where I can just find the problem right then.
Your
That's
cell
convenient.
phone. How did you say your cell phone?
Did I say cell phone?
You said I immediately get on my cell phone. It's 71 degrees in there.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm crazy. I meant
Wait, what
get
kind of
my
app you got?
infrared. I grabbed my heat gun.
Okay, okay. I was like, what kind of app you using?
Oh my gosh, sorry about that.
Go
So
ahead, go ahead,
anyway,
go ahead.
thank you for because people are like, man, what the freaking planet is this guy on, right? So
It's
anyway, I take the
apps,
garden
apps.
sheet in there, boom, 71 degrees. Oh, problem solved. Plug in the heater. It gets warm.
Mhm.
The fish, they start
Yeah,
behaving like normal. It could be something else too, though. It could be something like uh, different pollutants building up in the water. It could
mhm.
be that the fish, like I said, are at a different level of acidity that they don't like. Especially wild Altum angelfish will have a different preference for where they like to sit at as far as their water, their mineral content, their acidity. Of course, my mineral content's always low. I'm not going to add minerals, but
Yeah,
is it going to work if somebody had super high TDS and just buffer down? I think it would. I think it'd be the same thing. But
yeah,
anyway, getting back to it, those fish, when I find them, every adjustment that I make is based on their behavior. I'll dial in by how those fish feel, not how they look. Let's do it by how they behave.
yeah,
Now, let's just say my fish, because you saw that, I'm trying to teach people my method. I want people to be able to enjoy these fishes in the way that I do. So I want to educate and I want to share this to the hobby so people can start enjoying these fishes. They're not going to come and just and disintegrate and die on people. Let's learn
yeah,
how to take care of these. I'm going to be the
yeah,
vessel for that,
yeah,
right? So, but it
yeah,
all starts when I told you when you were talking about the meds, right? I was talking about my quarantine procedure because
yeah.
I'm telling people once my fish go through this quarantine procedure, now I know that they're free from all this crap that can be all over them, that can be
Mhm.
making them crazy and jumpy and feeling grumpy. And
You're very
so,
animated when you talk. You really, really love these damn Ultims, bro.
dude,
Like
I
you're
love being
really
on your
excited.
channel.
I'm
Man,
loving it. I
you're
go ahead,
making
go
me,
ahead.
I'm just competing with you, man. You're making me animate.
No, no, bro. Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going.
You like it?
You really, really, you really. I could tell the passion in you. Go
Thank you.
ahead, man. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm just gonna let it loose, man.
Go ahead. Let it fly.
I'm
Let your
eccentric.
free
I'm
flag
not like
fly.
a and your Altum angelfish. No, we're not doing that, dude.
Yo, these people
Let's
love it. These people love it.
let's move on. Moving on. Now, like I'm talking about before, right? I cleaned all that crap off the fish. So that way, when I get them in my tank, and then I could start looking at their behavior because you know what? Now I know that all those flukes, nematode worms, tapeworms, protozoa, all these things that can make our fish feel like, not to mean your name, feel like they're in a funk, right? Now I can start to dial in what temperature do they like? What pH do they like? You know,
Uh-huh.
do they have the right amount of space? Is there tank mates in there that are bothering them? And that's when I could really start to tweak and dial in to get the fish to grow big and thrive like I do here. That is the basis, that quarantine, because we need to watch our fish. Our fish are going to tell us everything. Like if people would look at me
Uh-huh.
like, well, what's your nitrate? I don't test nitrate. What are you talking
I
about?
don't know.
What's your phosphate? I
Yeah,
don't test phosphate.
I love it.
I
I
don't
love it. I
test
love it. I love it.
ammonia. I don't do
Yeah.
anything. I have a system. I created my fish went through the system, and I have a metric of filtration, even if it's just sponges. I like to have one of those really big Hydro 5 ATI. It's a toilet paper size sponge, about one for every 50 gallons, in my tank. And I want to change the water. I change the water every week at least, even if the
Mhm.
fish doesn't have very many fish. Actually, this tank behind me here, I did have 6 Altums in there for a while. I had my Rio Vachata Altums. There were only 6. There was no other fish in there. And yeah, I would let that 350 go 2 or 3 weeks sometimes. But we're talking about severely understocked. It's a huge tank, you know? Where realistically, let's say if I did those 6 Altums every 3 weeks, I got a water change, but now I got 18 big Altums. Well, that would justify this. It would be the same as getting a water change every week, right? So when I'm watching my fish here, when I see them acting weird, maybe they start jumping, or maybe they're in a bad mood, they're kind of slumping, they're turning like this, their tails are clamped shut, their fins are like, we don't feel good. Oh, let's do a water change, But there's other things. So I got the clean, healthy fish, right? You can get the wild fish. And if you guys follow me and you can look through my stuff, you guys have questions and stuff like that, you can see how I do it. You can see how I thrive and how I fix these fish. Or if you just want to jump to the finish line of that and not buy wild fish where you end up losing all of them or lose half of them or whatever. And then you have to be an expert on fish medicine and all this stuff and all this risk, you could just buy them from me. And they're straight up. You're just getting the cleanest, healthiest fish that you put in your tank. So anyway, I'm starting with the cleanest, healthiest fish. I got the clean, healthy fish. I watch them. When they start acting weird, I'll do a water change. If they're still acting real weird, maybe I have to investigate a little bit more. But realistically, in this tank, parasites or something like that, no.
Let me ask you a
worry
question.
about that.
Let's switch gears a little bit. Before I get to my next question, if I buy fish from your site, do you follow up if people have, hey, I bought fish from you 8 months ago, but they're doing something weird now. This is what they're doing. Can you help?
I do. I talk to everybody. I have full support for all my fish. I help people with fish that they didn't even buy from me. And my followers, you guys are probably going to watch this, and from the UK or whatever, from Indonesia, Sri Lanka. Hey man, can you look at this for me? And I can't necessarily fix your fish. It's hard to save a sick fish, but I want to educate on things to why it's happened. And I tried to educate people on how, because my methodology is like you saw, I had a video. It's like, you don't put out fires. My methodology is fire prevention. My fish, I take care of it, so then I don't have to worry about those problems later. My fish, they got cleaned. I got clean, healthy fish. They're with the right tank mates. They got the right environment. They got the right water. They're getting the right foods, and they're getting the right maintenance. No problem. But I always help the people. And when people want to buy Altum Angelfish and you want to talk to me first about considerations on how to set up your tank, I hope that you would talk to me rather than asking AI how to take care of Altum. Please ask me,
So I'm a little, because I don't know if they done it for you, but on my channel they've asked me for my permission to use my information to help teach their AI. And I don't know how I feel about that. I have not answered them. On one hand, I don't want no part of it. But on the other hand, it's like, well, who are they getting their information from then? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, but to get back to the angels, let me, someone asked about Cory cats. So let me go ahead and get into, because we talked about this when we was on the phone a couple days ago. Tank mates for Altum Angels. You got a 125. Let's go ahead. Let's drop the number down to about 8 Altum Angels, because they don't want to just have Altums. They want to have other fish in there. So 8 Altum Angels with a 125. Tank mates.
Mesonotas are good. The flag cichlids are always with them in nature.
Those are my favorite.
Especially if we're using water and we're going to measure and we're going to adjust the water slightly for the Altums. Let's just get tank mates that the Altums can live with, right? So let's just say if we're going to buffer our water to slightly below neutral, we're going to be in the 6.5 range or something like that. And what's all the peaceful South American cichlids, like maybe Geophagus would be good, like Spenine, things like that. Very, very good. Plecos are good as long as the plecos can't be eaten. Autosynclus is bad. Very, very small plecos are bad because the Altums, they'll try to eat them, and then they just stick their pectoral fins out. And it's game over. So when people talking about tetras, I've never had them work. I see people having tetras. I've had it where all these deeper bodied, like bleeding hearts and stuff, they just attack my Altums. And if it's a rummy nose or a cardinal, it'll be okay until any cichlid, and even some of my fathers are talking about, even if a cichlid is not known to eat fish, say like a panduaru or a geophagus or something, they will eat a small fish if it's an opportunistic.
Any fish can. Any fish, I don't care if it's a peaceful fish. If it can fit in their mouth, they're gonna go try it. So one fish that I have always like, I told you I had got 3 Altums. I don't know where they were from. I don't know if they were wild caught. They didn't specify it on the tank where they were from or whatever. Whether they were wild caught or F1s or whatever. The people didn't know.
Yeah.
But I brought them home, and they were super, super skittish. They hid. It was only 3 though. It was only 3. And they hid for like 3 months. And I was like, why? I need to figure out how to get these guys to come out. And I ended up using mollies. Mollies as dinner fish, and that worked really, really well.
Interesting. So they felt comfortable to come out.
Well. Yeah, and they came out, and they never went back to hiding. So but mollies, I believe, are Central American, right? I don't know.
Some of them are, and there's molly. I think there's some in the United States, southern United States. All these live bearers, in through the islands, Central America. But a molly's a hard water fish. It's not a soft water fish at all. My idea about the skittishness of Altum angelfish is something is affecting those fishes. Right? There's something more affecting those fishes than you think. And it could be, like I said, they didn't like the water they were in. They could have been infected by something. The tank, maybe they didn't like your tank. Maybe your tank was too small, too narrow. Maybe it was around a corner. It was on the floor.
It was a 55. But like I said, I put the mollies in and they came out. I can't explain it. I mean, it was the only time. It was only 3 of them. Maybe it was. Apparently, it wasn't a big enough group. They may have been wild caught and wasn't a big enough group. I don't know. But those are the only wild caught Altums I assume they're wild caught. Those are the only Altums I ever had. Was those 3. And that's the biggest thing I took out of that was they hid. I put mollies in there and they came out, and they never
end up growing. Did they end up growing to full size?
I ended up giving them to a friend of mine. So because I had to move. I moved to an apartment. I moved to an apartment. So I was like, so yeah. But so we got, somebody asked about Cory cats. How do you feel about Cory cats?
Cory cats work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That would be good. Sand bottom. This is I like to have either no bottom. I like bare bottom. I'm an aquaculture facility. Kind of. If you came and you saw around my house, what we're in the room now is sort of like my living room. I don't usually make display tanks, but so a lot of my things are bare bottom. They're adjustable. They can flip to different things. But if you're going to make an Altum tank, put some sand on the floor. And Cory cats, they like that. Geophagus, they like earth eaters. They like that. Just the white quartz silica sand. It's inert. Swimming pool sand works. You know what I mean? Just whatever it is. Don't use aragonite or something like that. That's going to raise your pH and make your fish feel uncomfortable.
How you feel about plants? I know. So there's a big thing with angelfish, wild angelfish, plants, biotopes. It's a big deal. Like some people are like, no, where they come from it's dark water. There's barely any plants there. Then some people are like, yeah, different parts of the Amazon there are plants, which I would say different parts of the year. How you feel about plants in an angelfish tank?
Well, in a scalare angelfish tank, absolutely. We're talking about in an Altum angelfish tank, possibly. For me,
Sunny came in.
Yeah, right on. So when plants are a possibility, but when people are trying to make a beautiful planted display that either has CO2, fertilizer additions, dirt substrate, these type of things with Altum angelfish, I found don't do very, very well. And the reason I believe it is because we're talking about any pollution, not just nitrates and phosphates are pollution, but all these plants, there's all this organic pollution building up, even like the iron supplements and stuff, and all these things from your
Mhm.
plants is going to irritate your Altum angelfish. What I've always seen in an Altum angelfish tank that's planted, you're going to see Altums that have these broken fins
Yes,
where you see the bone, but the parts of the fin are missing in between. You see this bony scale. You know exactly what I'm
I know
talking
exactly what
about.
you're talking about.
Yep, that
Because
is caused, I believe, by organic pollution buildup in the water for people that are trying to take care of their plants very well by giving them all the building blocks to grow, and that's bringing down their Altums. Another thing that people believe is say, oh, I got all these plants now and I don't have to change the water because my plants are going to suck the
yeah,
nitrates and phosphates. And yes, I believe in that. I worked at a pet store. We taught how to do low tech planted scapes that need
uh,
very, very little maintenance. So I'm not hating on that. I believe there is a place for that and it can work with, there's many species of fish that can work
yeah,
for, but it's not going to work with your Altum
yeah,
angelfish.
yeah.
Even if you have plants, if you can make that work, you're still going to have to do that water switch out.
Mhm,
Water switch out. What are you going to see? Problems of your Altum angelfish, like I said, the bony fins. First thing
mhm.
you see. Second thing you see is right off the pectoral fin. You can see it starting to get pink. It'll start just to be pink. When you see the pectoral fin base be pink, that means
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah. I've
that
seen that
means
a
there's
lot. I've seen that a lot of fish. I don't get them, but I've seen that where it looks like that the right there at the joint,
yep.
like right at the joint. Yeah.
Let me compare that to when before we get a cold and our lymph nodes swell up.
Uh-huh.
Right? That is something inside that fish where that fish is fighting against something and it's losing some of its human. It's going to inflame like an allergy. You're going to see like a inflaming lymph node. You're going to have a flaming, maybe in the nose. You ever seen an Altum with a red in their
Yeah,
nose?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's the same thing. That's a sign of irritation. It could be caused by, like I said, the fertilizers, the poor water quality, but it could also be caused by being infected by tons of parasites. It could be caused by poor feeding, or let's just say live feeding that's contaminated with bacterias and stuff like that, can all cause these same things. But when you're looking at that little pink on the pectoral fin base, your slightly red nose when it's just starting to turn pink, or the bony fins, or combination of those things, those are the first warning signs that something is wrong with your Altums.
130.
Yep.
So I learned another thing today. So what we're talking about is like you see the right there is what you're talking about. The base right there. Is that what you're
Not the
talking
base
about?
of the ventral fin, not the base of the ventral fin, the one that comes out the side of the body, the pectoral fin right behind the
The
gill.
the, the ones right behind the gill.
Yep.
Well, I've
So
seen,
when you
yeah,
see it, when you
yeah.
see it just to
So
start to turn pink, that's normal. When you see the next stage is when it bubbles out.
is that is there a gland or something there? Is that where you're getting at? Is there a gland?
No, no, there's just it's irritated flesh that is starting to feel irritated and come out, just as in, like, let's just say if we ate some bad food or whatever, we start to turn red and we start to swell up. And that's just where you see it in these fishes. You'll see it in the pectoral fin and you'll see it in the nose. So
I've
this
seen
is
the nose in a lot of fish. I mean, it's blatant. Like I see it all the time at pet stores. I'm like, yo, and I pass those up, and I've seen it on the thing, but I've seen it so many times.
now you're kind of getting, these are my
I've
theories
never
about that,
equated it. I've never thought that that was a like a warning sign.
It's a warning sign. It's not too late.
I
There's a
never
certain
I
time,
never
there's
knew that.
Altum angelfish, once they get past a certain point, they're almost unsavable. Like there's a certain, I mean, I hate to say this, but I've tried to save fish so many times, because I went through it all. I didn't learn what I know, but by just being the king and everything's been all good all my life and everything's just so easy because I'm so smart. No, everything happened because I saw all these things. I saw how my fish regress. And after, when I put it all together over years, I can study back and look and I can create these theories, right? And based on my theories, that's how I can roll with the way I operate now and the success that I have now. So uh, it's training through the experience, and ultimately it's training through failure. And so when people see these fish, and sometimes I'll even see Altums, and I know you guys, when you watch this, if you're Altum fanatic, sometimes I'll reach to people on the side and say, "Hello, miss. Hey, how you fish doing? You know, is there anything I can help you with?" And because I see the fish struggling, and I'm not coming to try to say, "Hey, your fish is sick. What are you doing?" No, but it's like, well, maybe I can have a positive effect where if they will listen to me, maybe we can make some suggestions so they can understand. Maybe they can fix their fish, because I want everybody to have healthy, good fish. They didn't have to buy them from me. You know, I want everybody to have good fish. And
I love that. I'm gonna get my chair because I gotta sit now, but I love your attitude towards stuff. Like, stop. Don't be. I hate people who just crap on other people. Like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. You're gonna kill your fish. Not. Let me help you. Like I'm here to help you. I love that attitude, man.
I think that's a lot of the internet and some of the forums and stuff brought that along. You know, back in the day, it's just like we can throw out these blank threats online, where we're not standing face to face, and you can have people just launching these grenades at everybody. You know, it's not right.
That's
And
why I stay away from Facebook. Like, I don't get. I'm
I don't
tempted.
have Facebook even.
Don't get me wrong. I'm tempted to go into Facebook and help people or
Uh-huh.
or defend people when I see that, but I know it's a losing battle because those people are just freaking soulless losers. But
I get it,
no,
man.
but like I said, that's one of the things that kind of drew me to your channel is like the positive attitude, positive vibes that and it's like so obvious right here. Mexicali, you gotta have this dude on, bro. You gotta have this dude on. Mexicali is a friend of mine. He
Very
has a
nice.
he has a live stream where he has people on, and he had it's totally different, but he would love to have you on. I
Very
know that.
nice. Mexicali,
But
man.
yeah,
Reach
so
out. We'll do it.
he the other thing I wanted to ask you about was you mentioned other types of you like the red backs or red shoulders, whatever you want people call. I can't say the name Machu Picchu
Uh-huh.
Puchu Puchus.
Yeah.
Um and the other types of scalare. In the future, do you plan on having other types of angelfish? No, it's
No
just
more. The
man.
reason the reason why I'm a strictly Altum is because I have theories, and it's actually been proven that there's different types of viruses that are unique, especially to wild populations of angelfish. So
Yeah,
it's sort of like when the
like that.
European settlers came and gave everybody smallpox or back in the day. These things can happen back and forth between our fish. So as far as a Pterophyllum angelfish in my house, I'm going to be exclusively Altums. And
Uh,
even those Altums that I have, I used to do locational cross and stuff. And right now, I didn't do that anymore. I noticed that locational cross for me didn't do very well for me. And so when I look at it, I can't point when fish regress and die. Sometimes we don't know what the exact reason is. What is mysterious death? Well, it's very, very mysterious, right? But at the same time, there's these things that I do and these crazy levels of separation that I have that I'm not going to get another angelfish, and I never let a piece of equipment touch. Even if I have different wilds, I like from different populations. I even like the tanks a little bit further away from each other sometimes. And I'll never reach into one tank and reach into the next.
Mhm.
There's none of that water's gonna
Yeah.
come. So I believe those things. Is it crazy? People would think that's not fun. The way I see it is I'm freaking serious about
Yeah,
success here. I am
yeah,
not, I've lost fish before. I've dealt with all these problems before, and it's not going to happen to me now. And
yeah.
right now, like, I don't have mysterious death. There's never going to be like an Altum that I look, if I went and saw an Altum dead in one of my tanks, one of the larger Altum, that would be highly concerning to me. It's like fish here don't die like that.
Yeah.
You know, they
I don't
used
think.
to.
Well, you got a lot invested, so doing those small little things, you kind of kick yourself in the butt when something goes wrong, even if a year has gone by and everything is fine, and you're doing this one thing. It's like, it hasn't, nothing bad has happened yet, and then at one time you're like, oh man, I just lost. In your case, would be thousands of dollars
In
for this
agriculture,
one. Yeah,
in agriculture in general, you can see it, you know, with look at the orange farms in Florida, how they had a
yeah,
disease that happened to them. It took millions and millions of dollars of research study to find out
yeah,
it came from some invasive moth that had this
yeah,
something that was a microbial thing that added disease
yeah,
to these trees, right? So when I in my house, when if let's just say I was an aquatic and pet store and I just kept buying tons of fish and selling, moving back tons of fish,
yeah,
what's going to happen is things happen in the tank and I'm going to lose some of my ultims. Things are going to happen like this. And I don't have a major university to back me up, dude.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I could, everything
No,
there
I
is
totally get it.
speculation, you know,
So
how'd they
I totally
die?
get it. Consolidated Fish Farms, the channel sponsor. I used to work with them. I still work with them, you know, as far as channels concerned, but I used to literally work there. They breed. They're a wholesaler. And they only have a handful of angels that they breed. And I always said, like, well, why don't you, you know, start,
Branch
you
out.
know, and they was like, nope, nope, this is what we got on the farm, is what we're breeding, because we messed around, did that. I think it was years ago, and they brought in some other fish to start breeding, and it wiped out every single and it took a very long time to totally get rid of any trace of that.
That's right. It's a total reset. You need to do a
Yeah,
total reset.
it's like a slash and burn type of
Yep.
deal.
Yep.
It's a slash and burn type of deal.
Yes. And then
So
while
yeah,
you're scrubbing all that, in your mind, you're thinking it's a
yeah,
very dark place while you're cleaning that. You might
yeah,
not be getting angelfish again, you know?
yeah, yeah. So, and angelfish is such a large portion of their revenue. It's like
Uh,
they can't afford to do that one little thing. Like, oh yeah, I could just get in 50 new angels from somewhere else and start breeding a new strain. Nah, nah,
no.
they don't even want to think about it.
For me, if I'm going to buy and sell fish, I'll just buy and sell fish. I'm not
Yeah,
going to breed fish and buy and sell fish.
yeah,
If I wanted to buy and sell fish, I would become an importer. I'd become an aquatic pet store,
yeah.
online dealer, whatever. I can do that. I think I have
Mhm.
the skills that I can support something like that. But
Yeah,
as a breeder, my choice, and especially breeding with what like you're talking about, what I have invested into, the years it takes to grow,
yeah,
the thousands of dollars of fish that come in that may or may not be able to
yeah,
be saved. And I have just like you were talking about, I've lost all my fish before. You know,
yeah,
I've done a total reset. That
yeah,
happened, you know, and it can happen. I don't want it to happen to anybody, but it can. You got to understand, once you start having a lot, if you have a fish tank and you're getting fish, and you're going to a local club and buying plants, putting in your tank, that's one thing. You'll probably can get lucky and never have an issue at all with these things,
yeah,
right? But once you start to have 30, 40, 50, 3,000, 4,000 gallons
yeah,
worth of tanks,
yeah.
once those things get in, if you don't have a biosecurity protocol with
Mhm.
these animals and the way they're handling, the way I see it is if they didn't go to quarantine, I'd rather them die. I mean, it sounds horrible, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of like, what is it, necessary evil? But yeah,
I'm
yeah, I
protecting the
mean,
herd, you know? We got to
yeah,
protect the herd, you know?
yeah,
I
yeah.
protect my
Uh,
herd.
the
And
only
therefore,
reason,
when you guys get fish from me too,
yeah,
when you look at
yeah,
me in my house, I'm not battling a
yeah,
columnaris infection. I don't have fires where I'm going around. I'm not selling meds because you know you
yeah.
buy fish here, you don't freaking need the meds. You know,
The only reason why I asked you about other fish is because there's only, I mean, okay, so listen, Altums, they're like, you know, when it comes to angelfish, they're the holy grail, right? But
period.
there's another type of angelfish that I've had, I had a group of them, and I love these freaking things because they act so much differently than any other angel. Altum, scalare, domesticated designer angelfish that is so hard to find. Leopoldi.
Yes.
They act so different. They're aggressive. They're aggressive and fast as hell. But I actually, they're not as brilliantly colored, but I really enjoy fish behavior more than anything else.
Absolutely.
They act so different. So different. I was like, "Ooh, it'd be cool if he started breeding Leopoldi."
Do you know how many people say that? Every presentation I've ever given, they've like, have you ever worked with Leopoldi? I've heard this over and over and over.
Yeah.
Over
Maybe
again.
somebody's trying to tell you something, bro. I'm just saying the universe might be talking to you. I'm just saying. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. You know. All right. So man, that's awesome. So this is your livelihood. This is your livelihood.
This is my livelihood. I used to work, like I said, I was a commercial fisherman for 20 years. And my profession on that boat before is I was the chef. I was called the chief steward. So it's a large fishing boat, you know, it has 150 people working on it. And I was the kitchen boss and I had my crew, but I'm not only the boss, I had to cook the meal. So I'm working 12, 13 hours a day, every day. But anyway, going by after I left that, and after I left that, I still work a little bit where sometimes that company calls me back, and because this is in Seattle and the fishing boats park, and they say, hey, Thomas, why don't you come back and throw down some meals for these people? And I'm like, I'll see how it's going here. Let's just say, like when I didn't have too many fish and my fish were growing out, and you know, it took a couple years to get my Altums going in full swing like they are now. I was working that a lot. Right now, especially because I'm doing the rebuild, I got tons of fish here. And right now I'm doing this full time. If I'm going to need money, can I pick up work somewhere? Yes, I can, you know, but right now I'm seeing if I can make it. I live very, very efficiently, you know, it's a one car family and it's a hybrid, you know, you know, and I wear my own shirts. I wear these shirts every day and I probably wear the same shorts that I did 25 years ago. You know, that's just the way I am, you know, so I'm not going out and partying and doing all this
So
kinds of stuff, you know.
what other fish you have that you breed out that you sell?
Right now, I'm breeding Ivanacara bimaculata. I got that in late 2022. It's a dwarf cichlid. It gets, you know, the males probably get about 4 inches long. It is the holy grail of dwarf cichlids.
So those were hard to get for a long time.
Impossible. They were discovered, but almost never seen. And what happened is there was, I believe, I mean, I'm hearing from second, third hand information too. I could be wrong, but it was a killifish expedition in Guyana. And they went really, really far up into the upper reaches of the Essequibo River area in Guyana. And they found a lake, a blackwater lake, and they found these fish in there. And I guess I found a male and they found some fry and stuff. And, you know, they did all the work and they brought it back. They brought it back to Sweden where it was bred. And then they were shipping them out. So people, they were using transshippers. There was a guy just north of me that, you know, got a pair shipped to him from Sweden. Don't know how. I think the fish was relatively inexpensive, but I don't know how much it cost him to bring the Holy Grail from Sweden, you know, with all the permitting and everything like that. But this guy, he was able to breed these fish before anybody had them here. I think there was 2 people in America that imported from Sweden. So this guy north of me is the only person who bred them. Somebody gave me a tip about him. I went and contacted him. He gave me 6 pairs of these fish. And, you know, I bred the Ivanacara atticata back in 2020 and 21. I have some videos on that one. Total jewel of a fish, but in my opinion, not the greatest aquarium fish. It's not a community fish.
Yeah, mine
sensitive kind of to a lot of things. It's mean, you know.
Yeah, it is kind of pricky.
Now, so Ivanacara bimaculata, I can take that fish. When I got it, I had every pair on. Of course, they went through quarantine. You know, 3-4 months of medication and observation. Once I got them all paired up, boom, and I was making those. So all the fish, most of the fish that in America, because I sold wholesale. I don't wholesale Altum angelfish a lot, but the bimaculatus, yeah, they went around nationwide. Dan's Fish. I sell them, and they go around to a lot of retailers, leopoldi, and so these guys, all the fish are, I'd say 90% of the bimaculatus out there were a line that were produced here for sure. Probably, you know, in last year, probably, you know, over 1,000 fish for sure produced here. So
Gaby, bro, I know you don't do a lot of angels, man, but if you check out Homeboy's website, these fish that he's talking about, I don't know if he's still running that 6 or something, 6 bunch of 6. You have a pack of 6 of those
bimaculatus, yeah, I do.
And I can tell you right now, the price that he has them, I can't remember because you know how I am with numbers, but I remember looking at them and be like, that's a good price for a pack of 6. And you'd actually like those. You'd actually, those fish are kind of up your alley. They're South American cichlid. They're South American cichlid, but yeah.
Crazy good. You guys, you hear me now, right? I don't lie to you. You can trust me. I tell you guys things. Ivanacara atticata, bad. Ivanacara bimaculata, good. They can live any water.
I'll say this about the first one that he said, because I can't say it grows bigger, and if you're gonna have them, they're a species only tank, really, to be honest with you.
With 2 fish in.
Yeah, just a male and a female for breeding. The one I had killed a lot of fish. He killed a lot of fish.
I saw the behavior. Because sometimes when I first got Ivanacara atticata, and I grew them up from small fish, and the breeding tank, I put dithers in there. I thought, you know, sometimes some cardinals or something will help the protection of the fry. And as soon as the eggs were born, it saw dead cardinals everywhere.
Bro,
like they just went around those fish. They murdered them, like just brutally. Didn't eat them. You
didn't even have a female in there. I didn't even have a female. It was just a single male, and he was killing fish. I tried putting barbs in there. I figured, you know, hey, let me put barbs in it. Nope, he killed the barbs. So yeah, he was. And if I did put him in a community tank, he would hide for the first 3 months, and then after those 3 months, he was on a death march. He was just killing fish left and right. So, yeah, I will say that. But these other fish that he's talking about, smaller fish, I said they're more colorful. They're more colorful. The first
they got tons of reds, and they got their eyes turned red. Black. The first one, you ever seen a juvenile like Tropheus du Boisei, the juvenile, how they go black and they have all the spots on it? The female, when she's fired up, looks exactly like that. She looks black, and she has like these fluorescent blue bars and spots all over, and the fish just look incredible. And just like Atticata, it's very chameleon-like according to their moods and stuff like that. But these fish, when they're fired up, I mean, it's a centerpiece fish. You get if you have a planted aquarium. And like I said, you can keep these fish in any water, plants. I put Ivanacara bimaculata in an African cichlid tank. That's how much I believe that those fish can live in any water. Absolutely, they could. I've never seen those fish can die, man.
Can they handle their own with African cichlids?
I bet it could, man. I bet it could. You know what I mean? They're tough and you know what I mean? They could be mean, but they're not bullies. There might be individual fish. I've heard people say like, "Oh, I had one that was a bully." Just like every once in a while, you can get a fish that doesn't behave like it's supposed to. You know,
there's no guarantees with cichlids. I tell that area, I was like, they're semi-aggressive, low semi-aggressive, extreme, but there's no guarantees with cichlids. So you breeding anything else, or it's just them two?
Right. Yeah, no. Right now, I used to breed the snow white longfin plecos, and that in my lull, I used to created hundreds of those, and it's kind of saved my butt as a business, you know, to pay all my expensive when I was breeding longfin plecos. There was an unfortunate accident when I lost my group of those plecos, and right now I had some babies that I was going to sell, and now I'm growing them back up. But I decided to add more bristlenose. I'm going to do longfin super reds. I'm going to do green dragons. These are the bread and butter staple type fishes that
Yeah,
everybody
you
needs,
can't go wrong with long fin super reds.
Yeah.
You
So
can't go
is
wrong
it
with
the
that.
coolest, most holy grail fish that's so challenging? No, it's not. But I need to have these things.
Bread and butter. You
That
need to
way
have
my
bread and
business
butter.
can sell, and get those things. And those are cool fish too, but it's an easy thing.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm working with some small fish, like pseudomugils. You've seen those little blue-eyed rainbow fish and stuff like that. Just like I never used a spawning mop before. It's just like I think, man, it's that easy? And those fish in 2 months, like they're
I don't
already sellable.
I don't have
Amazing.
the patience for that. I watch
You need
there's
to
a
get your magnifying glass out, man.
I don't have the patience. I watch a friend of mine, Empire of Dirt. He does that whole thing, and he's like, yeah, individual. I would go crazy. I would go nuts. And like and I start throwing. I would just shake the mop off in the tank.
Oh,
Just
I don't pick eggs. My eyes are bad, dude. I'm
yeah,
old. My eyes are
that's
bad.
mops
I don't like to
though.
switch reading glass. I take the whole mop and I just throw them in another container and put a new mop in there.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
know.
pick
I
eggs
know
off.
that
You can just see I
they
swap the mops every week and just I have a recycling of mops.
yeah.
It's just like because I can't pick. I can't even see them. I have my son
I
look.
don't have.
Hey son, hey Ken, Steve, can you look at that and see if there's eggs in there for me? I can't
Like
see them.
even right now, reading this chat is sometimes I have to. I got my spectacles. I
Yeah.
got my spectacles, but I need to get a better prescription because even
Oh,
now.
geez. Yeah.
But no, that's awesome, bro. I like I said, I really enjoyed your views on keeping fish. You don't seem like a gatekeeper, and I something that I really dislike about some channels that they make people feel like honestly I feel like a lot of channels, if I was new to the hobby or I was thinking about it, like, oh, maybe I should let me look at some of these channels to make my decision. I would watch some of these channels. I'd be like, oh hell no, this guy's says that I can't like he's saying that it's terrible, it's the worst thing in the world.
No, no.
And
But you need
I
to
watched
understand also when you're talking about the different content out there, is that I am a specialist to these Altums and like these Orinoco Basin type cichlids, like the panda URUs and stuff like that.
yeah,
Have I had those URUs before? No, I never did. But I got it and I stuck them and I nailed them just because I understand these fish because I understand the environment because I've worked with the Altum angelfish. Now,
bro, that's
now we're talking
exactly what I
about so
thought.
when people want to take care of these, you need to talk to me about these things, right? Am I the person to talk to? I'm not going to teach you how to make a dirted tank,
Yeah,
right? Because those dirted tanks aren't going to support my fish, but they will support other fish, right? So people need to look, especially the new people, for what you're trying to do.
yeah,
Look for the niche information on what you are trying to do. If you want to take care of Altum angelfish and these things, I'm going to show you guys
yeah.
exactly how I do it. If you want to put dirt in your aquarium and have plants and put some tetris in there, there's other material for that. You know what I mean? But like you said, I'm not a gatekeeper, but I want the people to understand
Yeah.
some of the things I talk about when you look at my channel. It's going to be very specific that works with these fishes. It
Yeah,
works with these fishes.
yeah.
Is it going to be something that you can translate to all and hybridize this info and bend it into all these other ideas? Maybe not.
Uh-huh.
I don't
Yeah.
do it.
No, I do. I try and like challenge people. Like I do this all the time. I'll buy a fish and all I know about them is where they're from. That's it. All right.
Yeah,
What? I mean, how big does it get? Like obviously, hey, how big does it get? It get that big? Okay, where's it from? I'm gonna get it. I don't know nothing about it. I'm gonna figure it out. I know where it's from, so I got a pretty good idea on how to keep it
that's
alive.
right.
You know what I mean? Like, all right, and I'll figure it out from there. That whole
But
being
anyway,
research thing.
now we're talking about looking up all that information, right? And now we're getting back to like that AI and all this stuff that's jumping.
Yeah,
Oh, these fish
yeah.
live with this fish, this fish. You know what I really like to do because I've never had an Altum biotope tank before. I've never done it. You know what I
That's
did is I went online and I looked at fish underwater in the wild. Find videos of Altum swimming underwater in the wild, and look what fish you see with them.
Project
Then you
Piaba.
know, oh,
You ever
what's
watch
that?
Project Piaba? Project
Yep,
Piaba?
yep. I'm familiar with them, but
Yeah.
that's
So
more Brazil. So
yeah,
there's
but
there are Altum populations in Brazil, but not
Yeah,
so many, and they're very, very,
yeah.
very, very far north up into the Alto Negro. But yeah, and there's one called Below Water. I
Below
think it's
water,
Oliver
I'm
Lucana. It's
also
very
subscribed to
good.
them. I was,
Love it.
and a lot of it's more like Project Piaba that has little like 2 minute things, and it's more like showing you like fish underwater. They will have some, angelfish stuff in there, not necessarily all they'll have very few autumn stuff, but they'll have other angelfish stuff in there. Um, but Below Water, I watched that. That's more like David Attenborough type of stuff,
It's
narrated. It's
so
pretty good.
valuable to have that kind of stuff because
Yeah.
that stuff goes beyond all the BS that can be
Yes.
fed to us. And you can go in there and look, and they'll tell you, oh, this is the stream that has this fish and this fish. This
Yes.
is the pH. This is the conductivity. This is the temperature. And you can look at that and you can
Yeah.
really see it's like, okay, what do
Yeah.
I need to take care of these
Yeah.
fish? You know?
You can make up your own mind. You could see for yourself, what's going on. Like,
Exactly.
okay, how do I set up my tank that these fish? Okay, it says right there. Like, why am I putting all these plants in this African cichlid tank where it lives in nothing but sand and rock? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, you see all
Some
these videos.
some
Can you?
some fish are extremely adaptable. Like the
Yeah.
best aquarium fish in the world are so adaptable that we could take them and we can put them just about anywhere
Yeah.
and they will breed and thrive because of their high level of adaptability. Like a tilapia or something. It's just going to go all over the world in freshwater, saltwater, brackish water, any water, it's going to take over that area, right? But when we're talking about, especially the Orinoco Basin, some of these like fishes that come from these very low pH waters, what we're asking when we're trying to move them into these different areas is we're asking, well, what saltwater fish will live in brackish water? You know what I mean? We're asking the fish to step outside its evolved bodily function of how that fish is supposed to survive in. So that adaptability range changes. Where okay, when I talk about Ivana carabi immaculata, it was found in a pH 4.5 or something like that, right? But I'm
Hmm.
telling you now through experience that fish can live in pH 8.5. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't care. Now, if you take say Uaru for Fernandez, Chapezi, sorry, real long, the Panda Uaru, something like that, and from what I hear, I mean, from what people are telling me, they're like, that fish is not going to do that. Is a wild Altum going to do that? Some of them will, depending on that group of fish. I have a video, if you guys don't know, about Altum catch locations, and I'll talk a lot about
Yeah,
the differences in some of the fish you can get and the theories on why some of them are better than the others. But anyway, the F1 Altum angelfish is a very adaptable fish as well, too, where it can live in a higher pH. But is it meant to?
Yeah, no.
It, it's not
Yeah,
as strong as that
yeah,
bimaculata cichlid. I
yeah.
tell you that it's not, but it's closer to that.
So that's something that I was thinking about talking about, because I know the reason why I didn't talk about it is because I knew that's a long subject about catch locations and stuff like that. So I didn't even
Yeah,
bring it up.
yeah. Let's
But
not let's not do it. Hey man, you
that's
guys want to see this tank behind me? And do you
yeah.
want me
Let's
to
go
put
look
a
at
video of that?
some
Yeah,
angels.
I'm gonna turn the camera
Yeah,
around here.
yeah. Let's look at some Altums. Let's see what he got going on.
Okay. So this is the tank here. Let me back away from it. So this tank is a home-built 350-gallon tank. And it's got a 2x4 frame front. It's got a T6 aluminum frame in the top where the lid sits in. And it's actually wrapped in carbon fiber. So it doesn't have any bracing. It just holds itself like that. So fiberglass inside, carbon fiber outside. And I created this biotope of what I saw pretty much online. This is the trees that fell into the water. And these are the angelfish and the other fish that are living up in there.
Look at
So
that.
this tank has Rio Negro San Felipe Altums. This is the group of fish that I'm breeding F1s from. And these small fish, like these small fish right here, those are the F1s that I sell. But these are the big ones when they get this big here. And if you guys look through my shorts, I have where I actually, when I moved them here, I took out a ruler and I measured them. So these fish are all, 4.5 inch round body, and they stretch about 12 inches top to bottom. So they're pretty big, pretty decent sized fish. And so here I have panda uaros in there, 10 panda uaros in there. That they just got adult coloration now. I got Satanoperca Damon, the 3-spot earth eater. Another fish that comes from where Altums are at. It's going to follow the same thing where people are going to say, oh, needs massive filtration, needs super cycle tank, needs proper diet. And I wanted to show as a demonstration with this tank I wanted to show people my approach to taking care of these fish that are considered advanced level fish in the hobby, right? So these are the Altums here. And my filtration is nothing special. Some people compare filtration to it's like in-car entertainment. Look at the size of my speaker and look at this and that and that. But, I got 3 sponges here. I got another couple sponges here. And I don't like to push this a 30-inch high tank. I don't like to push the air that deep because I don't want to step up to a blower. I wanted to keep my linear piston. So I'm just pulling the water from the top. I have one really big Swiss Tropicals foam block. It has an AQUA 400 power head. And what that does is it shoots water across the top of this tank, and it's creating a laminar flow. So when the fish are chilling, the fish kind of just point this way like these guys, and they like that current just kind of coming to them. So it creates like a river environment. So here's the fish in this tank here. So there is 25 F1 Altums in here. There are 16 jumbo wilds, 10 Uarus, 7 earth eaters. I'm going to be selling fish out of this tank. Like right now, these F1s, when people start buying F1s, I'm going to start just selling the ones out of this tank. Just to make it easier for me to take care of. Because the way I'm driving this tank now is water changes, pretty much,
That's
and
awesome.
what are we feeding these fish? Even got the food here. I like the Fritz Vitalis flakes. I like granule. This is a high protein food. It's called Vita Complete. I feed spinach straight into that tank too, just like frozen spinach. That you can buy it at your grocery store. They make spinach that's cut and it's frozen, right? It's like IQF individually quick frozen spinach. And it's real easy to feed because it's already pre-blanched, and I just throw it in there. But let's see if these fish will eat something here.
Good. So
let's throw some protein in it.
You said that's Vita Complete?
That's Vita Complete, yeah. So watch this, man. Fish just go nuts on this.
Look at them go.
When I don't feed the tank, there's all kinds of this wood is not special aquarium wood. This is wood. I trimmed an apple tree in my yard and I used it. And there was all kinds of mold and stuff growing on it. And the fish, like all the Uarus and all the fish, they go up there and they eat. And the Uarus they're eating the wood and everything right now. So they just love it. You got to understand, in their biotope, this is what happens, falling leaves, wood is going in there. And you can see the fish, they have an affinity for it. They love it.
Now, Chris says you sell that Vita Complete on your site.
I do, yeah. I do because, it's this nice, easy thing when people get their Altum angelfish that I can provide a food that after a hard couple days of starvation and shipping, that you can get a food that your fish are comfortable to eat, is healthy, and they'll just start eating right away. Now, do you need to have that food? No, you don't. But I would recommend always people to get the food, and then after you get your fish acclimated in your tank and you get them fattened up again, if you want to try flakes, like you can see, I feed, what is this, the Fritz Vitalis flake, and they'll go for that too, so it's like the fish, they're not picky. There are a few foods that I've tried before, and I don't want to name them because I don't want to bag on them. But there are foods that I've tried that they just won't eat, you know, but it's a
Really?
nice service that the fish come and they're eating some type of food. And dry
Mm.
food is the healthiest food you can feed because
Yeah.
there's no harmful bacteria, no harmful pathogens on there. So
So
I love dry food.
let me take a second. Hey, George, you need to watch this live stream from the beginning, man. This guy's awesome. So in the chat, we got a guy named Aquaballs. Aquaballs, I don't know what he does. Everything he touches, he breeds. I
Nice.
know he would love this live stream. But yeah, you need to watch it from the beginning, bro. Um, you'd love this live stream, Aquaballs. But so what do you got underneath there? I see you got a
Oh,
tank on the bottom.
oh yeah, I got those are wild Ventuari Altums down there. Let me get the light on brighter so we can see them here. Let me see. Give me just a second. Oh, here we go. He might be a little disturbed because I just cranked the light on them. These are
Yeah.
fish that were exported as wild Ventuari fish, which is a Rio Ventuari is Orinoco's largest tributary, and it's in Venezuela. Look at
Now
these,
these
man.
seem to have a more of a blue tint than the ones up top.
They do. These have a very bluish and green tint. These fish, uh, I believe, from what I see, are heavier bodied fish than what I have up there. We're up there, it's like a very slender, sleek
Yeah.
looking, tall looking fish. And these fish are big. I mean, I would put look at this guy right here. This is
Are these the ones?
probably, this
Are
fish
these the
right
ones
here
that
is probably a 6-inch body.
are these the
He's
ones
big.
they call the deep water angels?
I'm not familiar with what a deep water angel is, but I think all the Altums they're called deep bodied angelfish, you know. But
So
they're Altums are Altums, you know. I'm pretty sure that if you put these fish in with the other ones, they could even mix breed with those other ones because they're the same species, you know, they're not that
yeah.
distant. So they
So
just evolve slightly different.
I was always under the impression that the Orinoco's and the Atadapos had different body, like one was a thicker body than the other one.
Well, that just depends on what part of the Orinoco that the Altum was collected from. Because there's, you know, the Atabapo spills into the Orinoco. So
Uh-huh.
any Orinoco that was, you know, 100 miles or 50 miles away from where the Atabapo was probably would look the same. And so anywhere once the Orinoco, you gotta understand the Orinoco is like 1,000 miles long. So all the way in the more northern populations of Altums is pretty far away from the Atabapo. And that's when I believe we start to see these bigger bodied fish like these
I
that
like those.
have more of the blue sheens like this.
Yeah.
If you ask me, if you look at these fish, they look more like a northern uh, range Orinoco. If you're just going to ask me just what on fish look like, and we don't know because people can call fish whatever they want. Did these
Yeah.
actually come from the Rio Ventuari? If you look at the Rio Ventuari, man, it's a plane flight out of Venezuela. It's far away, and you know how Venezuela is. Venezuela's got problems, you know.
Yeah.
So were people collecting fish there and puddle jumping these into
Yeah.
Colombia and then selling them for $15 each wholesale? I don't know about that, you know. But
I ain't gonna,
anyway, these are beautiful fish.
if I ever buy fish from you, it's gonna be out of that tank or F1s from that batch.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be working on these. There's pairs in here.
Yeah.
They're not going to breed with 13 fish in a tank, even though the tank is 7 feet
No.
long.
Yeah.
They're not going to breed like that. They need
No.
to be separated, and I need to give them some attempts and some love before they
Those
breed.
are honestly those to me. Those right now are making me want to set up another angel tank. Right now, like in my head, I'm like, oh man, I want to put a tank up. Look at that one. Look at that one right there. Even though he's a little bit lighter, the black isn't the blue and that teal color is like Jesus, dude.
Look at this one. Look at the shine on
Look at
that,
how
man.
dark. And the red on the top of the dorsal fin, that brick red. Shh.
But you could see
Man.
these fish, they look different, have different amounts of vividity
Yeah.
and contrast because they're showing different moods, you know? So some of these fish are more dominant than the others. Some of them feel different, they have a different mood. And because they have a different mood, that's what makes them look different. So you could actually see Altum angelfish when they completely get faded, where you almost don't see the stripes at all. And when they start to see with the black behind the eye of this one,
Yeah. Yeah. I
that
was
means
looking at that.
that fish is riled up. This is what the fish look like when they're bothered, like they want to fight, they want to breed. When they're excited about something, that's when their eye will turn really, really red. They get dark stripes and they get that black spot behind the eye. That's the sign of excitement. So even look at that. See, it's pushing that other fish, and it's probably doing something in here. He's probably trying to look to maybe even maybe to pair off or something, and that's why that fish is displaying like this. But you can see this fish doesn't have
Look
the
at that.
black behind the eye, but that can pop up within a moment. You know, the fish all of a sudden
Yeah.
can get excited and boom, it's got it. But that one's showing real high contrast right now.
Shoot. That one got a whole lot of red in it. Well, the one
Yeah,
that one. There's speckling on the top too.
yeah, these ones all have speckling. You can see that.
Yeah. 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 Dude, those jokers are gorgeous, man.
They've been in this tank for 2 years and 1 month, almost exactly right now. They've never been moved. After they went through quarantine, I started with, I mean, this is a sad way to put it. I started with 50 of these fish, and
So how
only
old would you
13
say
made
they
it
are?
to this tank. These fish, I would estimate at about 2.5 years old right now.
Okay. And what? Because it's on film, so we can't really judge the size from tip to tip, top to bottom. What are you looking at?
This guy right here, I would say the disc, the round part of its body is about 5 inches.
Uh-huh.
And we're probably looking at 12 or 30, 13. If you're looking at, because you look at the fins,
Yeah.
those little hairs, they stretch way,
Yeah.
way low. That's
That's
almost touching the bottom of the tank.
that's
So,
cheating though.
yeah,
I've
you know,
seen
when you
some
say, oh,
angels with those jokers were long as hell.
phase
Like
once, look at this one. Look how
yeah,
long the ventral fins fall down. So if you took and you stretch this fish out and say it's 15 inches,
yeah, yeah,
but no, it's not. If you actually stretched a thread on its body, the extra 3 inches, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
you can get something like that. I don't like to call fish like that.
yeah,
Anytime I talk about the size of a fish, I usually underestimate the size of a fish. But
yeah,
when people come to this house, when they come and they look at this tank in particular, and then they say, "Oh my gosh, those are big," you know. But it's hard, like you said, it's hard to get scale. It's like,
yeah.
what is this tank? This tank is 7 feet long. It's 31.5 inches tall, and it's 24 inches front to back.
And is that a custom tank too?
Custom tank, yeah. Let's see.
What's
Oh,
up?
look at
What's
that.
up,
See,
Vibes?
it's eating
Yep.
pellets.
Dude, those jokers are ridiculously gorgeous, man. Like the ones up top were cool, but these guys right here, that they really get me excited.
Nice. Right now, I'm doing a rebuild, and I'm going to start. The thing is, you can't just throw these fish, these pairs. Each of them gets a 90-gallon tank.
Yeah.
That's about the smallest that I've ever bred. You can't throw these in a 20 high or something. And you need to have a lot of I have a lot of consideration in planning when I separate out a pair, what the tank position is. And I go for it. You know, I'll give them the full range. So when I'm trying to breed one type of classification of Altums, let's say when I started doing San Felipes, you know, I did have 4 pairs. And then I got
Uh-huh.
one of them to breed. You know, so it's a huge investment of the space. And so
So
when I'm go ahead.
you said something. I wanted to say this earlier, and it passed me, and now that I remember it again, I really wanted to highlight something that you said. I can't remember if you said it in your video or one of your live. I think you said it in that live stream. That I was so happy that you said it, because when I was breeding angels, I realized that I could easily breed angels every week and a half, no problem. And at first, because of my excitement, I did. Then I started looking at these females and thinking to myself, that's a lot of wear and tear I'm putting on this female.
Yeah.
To where I stopped doing that. I would drop the temperature to get her out of the breeding mode. You also do not believe in the conveyor belt style of breeding angelfish.
It probably dropped off there for a second. I think I'm back now.
Okay. So what I was
I
saying.
heard what you said. I heard what you said, that you learned because you heard on my live stream how I deactivate pairs.
Yes.
Because we can't just keep having them breed again and again and again. For one thing, like I was talking about, is can we take care of all these fish? And the answer is probably not. Is there a place for all these fish to go? There is probably not. And also, what happens is that the eggs become weaker and weaker and weaker because the female's body is spending so much energy to produce these eggs over and over and over. She's giving up her own existence for reproduction. And like I said, I'll turn the fish off, and when I need fish, after my build is done, if I'm low on inventory, I make a move, and I can make a move on those fish again the next year, and let's enjoy those fish for a long, long time. It's not about, it's all about production and more and more and more. And that's not what it's all about here. I want to make the best fish, and I want to have the best life for all the fish here. And even the ones that I sell, I want them to have a good life too, and so that's what
I always felt like it shortened the female's lifespan.
It does. Letting a fish spawn over and over and over, it just wipes her out, and then later you're going to have a male and there's going to be no female. How long do these angels live? Well, I've had some ups and downs in my fish room, and I haven't been in the game forever, but I've seen these fish go 5 to 7 years. Can they go more? And the answer is probably they can, depending on how we care for them. If we just keep on cranking them, where we're breeding them or trying to grow them very fast, cranking the food, water changes, and bigger and bigger. I want my fish to be bigger and bigger. No. Maybe after you get the fish to the right size, maybe it's for me to care for them less, feed them less, lower the temperature.
What's the optimal for me? For me, with domesticated or designer angelfish, I always say, you could. I mean, a female angelfish could breed inside of 8 months. But I think the best eggs come at like 2 years, year and a half, or something like that. The bigger
if we wait, right?
The bigger spawns come, about a year and a half to 2 years of the female's life. What about the Altums?
The Altums will breed at about, if you have talking about a tank redfish,
healthy spawns.
Healthy spawns can happen right off the bat. It takes about a year and a half.
Yeah, see, that's how
yeah. There's something going on where there's a lot of echoing in my. Can I drop out and come back?
Yeah, because something happened where it kind of boop boop. Something.
All right. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, guys.
No, we're here. Vibes, I'm glad you're in the chat, brother. Yeah, it's about the fish. I felt terrible. I used to breed angels, and I realized I could get these females to breed every week and a half, and I was excited. I started pumping them out, and then I looked at the female, and I felt so terrible that I was doing that to her. It was like just every week.
See what's going on here.
Every week and a half.
Doing it again.
Same thing.
Yeah.
You know what though? Listen, we're going on almost 2.5 hours.
Wow.
So this would be a good time to go ahead and call it. We'll do this again later on.
Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. So, Thomas, I appreciate you. If one of the mods, can you put his info up there? It's in the description. Mexicali, I have his stuff in the description. Mexicali, you gotta have him up, brother. You gotta have him up. He's super excited about Altums, man. It's fun to watch him go. For real, it's fun to
Jay,
watch him go.
thank you so much for having me, man. And
Yeah,
thank you guys for tuning in.
yeah. Just wait 1 second while they put your info up there. I just want to make sure your info gets up
Sounds
there
good.
before we get off. You know what I mean? Yeah, I appreciate you. And bro, when I'm ready to get some Altums, I'm definitely gonna get them from you out that bottom tank. Whenever, hopefully that bottom tank got some spawns coming out that bottom tank.
We're gonna work on it, man.
Them guys at the bottom, man. Those are gorgeous. You know, those are hot. Those are hot. There it is. That's all right there. You got us up there. But look, everybody, thank you for showing up. Thomas, you got anything to say before we leave?
Thank you guys for tuning in. And for the best information on Altum angelfish and these other Orinoco cichlids, you guys can subscribe to my channel. If you guys are looking for great fish, come to www.shoreline-aquatics.com. Any question that you guys have, anything you need, just reach out. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys.
All right, y'all take it easy. I'll catch you next Sunday at 9. Later.
Take care, man.